Welcome to your best bets. Previewing the Farmers Insurance Open this week at Torrey Pines. It's the first big feeling golf event we've had in probably since either the Ryder Cup or the Tour Championship. So a few months. So excited to talk about that tonight. Look at the field, strong field, go through the odds, review what we saw last week out at Palm Springs. Is that the Career Builder? No, I'm just kidding. I forget what it's even called. The American Express.
The American Express.
Johnny is here to talk about it with me. Johnny, did anyone watch football? Because I'm sure everyone was glued into the American Express yesterday, right?
Yeah, I mean, that American Express between, that race between Tom Hoagie and Lee Hodges was pretty epic there, and the Hudson Swafford, just dominant final round there, and there really wasn't much else on to watch as far as television or sports wise. I don't think so. I think everybody's pretty much glued to this, so we probably don't have much to talk about because everybody saw it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were waiting out the Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes duel, I mean, I don't know what you're looking for. You got everything you wanted in the Tom Hoagie, Lee Hodges, Hudson Swafford duel in the last few holes. No, honestly, we're going to talk just a few minutes about the American Express and really move on to a couple of other items, but not a lot to say. We didn't do a show last week in our picks for the week. We mentioned it's traditionally a long shot tournament. It really bore out to be a long shot tournament. Hudson Swafford was I saw 250 to 1 in some books. Maybe if you could have gotten him even 200 to 1, somewhere in that range. Guys like Lee Hodges, Tom Hoagie were well over 100 to 1. So in some aspects, it's a bummer to miss out on such a long number, but it really was like roulette, the back nine there on Sunday, it seemed.
Yeah, I was, I saw several tweets, and they were mainly just retweets of these guys that picked Hudson Swafford to win, and it was like, the guy won the event a few years ago. It was probably a little bit longer than that, but kind of turned into a little bit of a journeyman type, barely within the top 125, making his card, getting his card year after year. But we knew this was going to be a long shot that was likely to win. It's so hard among all these guys out here to pick, and to see this early in the year who's playing good golf. And when you get the conditions like this where it's it's basically like a dome. I mean, there's not a breath of wind. The weather's essentially perfect. It's a little cool in the morning, and then gets to very, very comfortable temperatures in the afternoon. And then you've got great growing conditions for grass, so the greens in themselves are immaculate. So it ends up being where it's not really a true test that you'll see on some of these hard golf courses that the PGA Tour guys play. So it was one of those things that it was hard to go chalky and pick the top guys, because one of these guys who is almost just as good, if they have a great ball striking week, make some putts, and they could end up finishing top on the leaderboard.
We went 2 for 15 in our best bets. It's tough scene. I went, at least you hit one, not Josh. I'm sorry. I had Josh when we went. Zach hit one. He hit a plus 140. Can't lay over Rom. So good call there. I went 0 for 5. Tough picking last week. I'm not totally shocked we did that. 2 minutes on Hudson Swafford. Looks like Harris English, doppelganger for Harris English. You could probably put them side by side and get them confused at certain points. Both went to Georgia. Swafford's had maybe a bit of an under the radar career, I guess. I mean, 3 wins now. He's won this event twice. I guess decent player. His name pops up every now and then on the leaderboard. He contends once in a while, and Good for him, I guess, right?
Yeah, playing at Georgia, which is a PGA Tour kind of, a prepping ground really for college. And he looks almost exactly like Harris English, and their games are both very similar. And he's had some success. I mean, winning 3 times there on the tour is good in of itself there. But yeah, I mean, he's going to stick around, I think, for a long time, because there's not really any serious weaknesses in his game, but there's not really any major strength where he's going to win a major or contend in a major. But he'll probably carve out an okay career where he'll have his PGA Tour card, for a good number of years and break through on the occasional win. Like you said, good for Hudson, but it's just kind of an underwhelming type victory there.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he excels at piece of shit fucking setups that are putting contests, right?
Wow, that was quite the line there that the cameras picked up.
I needed the right moment to include that, and it just felt good.
Yeah. John Rahm, did he say that on Saturday or Sunday? Was that Sunday morning?
I
know it posted to Twitter Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was Saturday. It looked like,
yeah. Not happy with it, but the golf courses, they play 3 total golf courses, and they're all kind of similar. They're not overly difficult as far as PGA Tour standards go. The one they play on, 2 of the rounds, including Sunday, is the biggest challenge. But when there's no wind, there's no weather, there's no elements of the golf courses in front of them, these guys are just going to tear it apart there. And John Rahm made those comments, and the camera caught him as he was walking off the green to the next tee. And like I think you had said that, a little surprising considering this is what it is every single year, and he's played this event before. I mean, he's a former winner there, but I don't mind it, little spicy there, but I mean, this is what this event is.
Maybe it was a clue that John Rahm hasn't changed as much as we think he's changed. Is Mickelson's the host of this tournament, isn't he?
Yes, actually, he's the host.
Okay, so I wonder if there's some obligation to. I believe they share the same agent. I wonder if there's some obligation there that is because Mickelson hosted. I don't know. I don't really know why he's playing in this golf tournament at this point. To be honest with you, it kind of feels like when Spieth still played the John Deere after he had ascended to number 1, and that's where he had his first win. And I don't know if there's some affinity there or it's an obligation, but I don't need to see John Rahm back here at this tournament. And apparently he's not into it. So anything else from American Express? I have very little. Like I said, I had interest on Sunday because of Will Zalatoris, who, he's starting to become the guy that just hits it great, and just can't buy a putt. But other than that, I don't really have much to say about this golf tournament.
No, and Zalatoris was one of the guys I wanted to mention. I mean, he did hit it well. He's longer than he was last year. I guess he's added 15 pounds and hits it even further. And he was actually pretty far, big time on the driving distance. I think top 30 or something like that last year. So that's interesting in and of itself. The putting, though, that really kind of concerns me. He's going to have not out of his mind week, but that's definitely where he struggles. So, but it was pretty good for not being able to putt very well. Shot 67 the last day, and when it looked like he was just gonna kind of fade into a top 20, ends up finishing 6th place, which was pretty good there. The other interesting thing I saw, Francesco Molinari. I mean, we hadn't heard about him since the COVID started, when he took that extended break there, and really has done nothing. And he finished tied for 6th as well with Zalatoris. And I don't want to say it's remarkable, but just kind of surprising that that he had finished top 10, because I don't even know when the last time he had done that. Maybe he had one last year, but his game has really fallen. So other than that, that's about all I got.
Before we move on to the Farmers Insurance Open this week at Torrey, just one news item, maybe news item, and then something I read that was interesting. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but it was announced, I guess, after our last podcast that the PGA Tour has linked up with Netflix to produce an immersive documentary series on the PGA Tour, following the lives and stories of certain tour pros. It's from the producers of the Formula One series that was on Netflix. I think it was called Drive to Survive. I'm not into Formula One. I didn't see it. I heard it was really good though, really well done. And this is I think this is awesome for the sport. I think it's really it's smart to link up with the same people that produce that same documentary series, people that know what they're doing, how to tell the stories of these players. And you got a lot of big names. You got Brooks, JT, Spieth, DJ, Homa, of course, Vic Hovland, just to name a few. Are you looking forward to this when this comes out?
Yeah, absolutely. I too did not see Drive to Survive. I have not watched that, but judging by the reactions of how that well that was received and talked about and everything, having that kind of quality production and like you said, they know what to produce there. They know what the people want to see. And I think these pros have gotten better and better about letting their personal lives and personalities shine, with Twitter, with Instagram, and other social media, but being able to take cameras into their homes and seeing them on the road and seeing how they behave on a Tuesday at Torrey, because I heard they were out actually this week, with the start of filming and everything. I can't wait. I'd like to see more of how these guys are not solely on the golf course or in their pre and post round press conferences. So looking forward to that, and I think that's going to be a big deal, because I think a lot of since Tiger's not playing at all, introducing a lot of these personalities that you and I see, and a lot of people listening get to see on Twitter and whatnot, but introducing them to just the casual golf fans, and hopefully that'll bring more more fandom to the sport.
I was a little surprised that the Masters has agreed to be part of it. To be honest with you.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So Augusta National, PGA of America, USG, the RNA, all the large entities have agreed to be part of giving access and inside the ropes, behind the scenes stuff. So I think it's gonna be really interesting. Who's a name that you think is gonna really shine through and just be fun to watch, and maybe who's a name that you're kind of like, that of the list that you saw that are like, I could do without that guy?
I haven't looked at the whole list and everything, and you could say because of his Twitter presence, Max Homa, seems to be a funny dude, and you want stuff like that. I kind of want to see a guy like DJ. He's got a lot of interest other than golf. I'd like to kind of see, and him being about my age there, been a big fan of his since it started, and I just like to see, I don't know, you get this impression that he's this completely cleaned up image, because he's got a couple kids and he's engaged to Paulina and whatnot. But I think seeing him, seeing what these guys do at their house, and how they kind of interact with people. And then it's kind of weird, but Brooks Koepka, I think, would be interesting. He's so stoic, and that I don't know, he won't let anything in. I think he could be kind of interesting.
I am interested to see Brooks. I've definitely lit him up a few times, but behind the scenes, he might be someone that you'd like to hang out with. I think the most interesting, entertaining guy might be Harry Higgs on the list. That dude is just fun to listen to talk. I want to see Berger. I want to see what the straight vibe and lifestyle looks like. As far as who maybe I'm not that interested in seeing, the first time I saw Tony Finau, I mean, he's got like 6 kids. It's basically like living in my house. So, I don't really need to see any more of that. He's a nice dude. I just don't know if that's necessarily going to be the most interesting thing to watch. I thought you might say Mito Pereira. He's on the list.
Mito Pereira is on the list.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to see Mito Pereira until he kind of plays well on a week that I pick him. But you never know. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that like Hard Knocks, where they find a guy that's just like, seems to just shine for the camera and everything, and then becomes like a kind of a darling to the public, and it'll be interesting to see who does that, where their personality shines.
One other thing I saw, obviously I almost said the Euro Tour, the DP World Tour event in Abu Dhabi this weekend. Won by our guy Thomas Peters. Broke out of a nice long slump there, but something I read before the event, Rory McIlroy was talking, and of course, anytime Rory talks, it's a really engaging presser usually, or an interview. He gives a lot of really interesting thoughts. He said he's going to hit more 3-woods this year and less drivers. Now, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but why?
I heard that, and I was like, did he really say that? And I kind of interpret that, if since I guess he did say it is more of a mentality and not necessarily something that he's going to do. He was chasing distance. He admittedly was chasing distance when Bryson beefed up and acquired all of his, and he had said that he need not do that. I think him saying that was more of, I need to think my way around a golf course a little bit more. You might hit one extra 3-wood around. You might hit more, but I think it's just, I think he's understanding and realizing that he's not going to overpower a golf course and beat everybody. I mean, there's guys that are going to overpower the golf course with him, and they're going to make 2 or 3 more putts, and they'll beat him by a few. So I think he's kind of getting into that, where Tiger used to overpower a golf course. They made the golf courses longer and more difficult, and Tiger got better because he adapted, and he quote unquote hit more 3-woods, but he kept it more in play. And I think, I kind of guess that's what he's kind of talking about, is he's going to try to be a little bit more, a little smarter around the golf course, trying to stay out of trouble, looking at angles into pins. And if that does mean 3-wood and 5-wood and iron off the tee, then it does. But I think that's actually a good idea, because I think that's been a huge issue, in addition to the putting, which has been well documented, is hitting these drivers and taking himself out of play sometimes.
I would have rather he said, I'm going to focus on my game that's inside 120 yards, and I'm going to try to become. I'm going to try to go from below average to really good, and that's going to be the difference in my game. Don't be so shitty with your wedges, and we'll be talking about you winning 4 times a year instead of another disappointing year. But he already is in midseason form. He finished 67, 69 to backdoor top 15. So that's mid-season Rory right there.
Yeah.
Now when he does it at the Masters, well, that'll be the norm right there. Let's move on to the Farmers Insurance Open. Johnny, the scene of the crime. The scene of the crime from last year, probably maybe the biggest story of the year, arguably. We picked that event. We picked the winner. We picked Reed in that tournament. So I got a lot of good feelings about this tournament. But I actually went back and was reading some stuff, and I was watching a couple of the YouTube videos today from that ruling. And I think my favorite part is when he picks his ball up, And then he calls the rule official, and Brad Fable comes over, and then he utters the line, "Do you mind if I stick my finger in it?" And Reed's like, "Well, there's no other way to tell, right? You got to stick your finger in there." It's just the context. If you were just listening and you had no idea what they're talking about, you probably just would have lost your shit listening to it. But that whole incident was it was insane. I watched the whole 10-minute piece on CBS, their YouTube page today, and it was great. So we're back. Reed's the defending champion. He's not playing well coming into this tournament. We'll get to that. Thoughts on the golf course, and what you're looking for this week as far as who's good course fit here?
Well, the golf course is extremely long, and they generally this time of year the rough grows really thick. It's a pretty straightforward golf course. It kind of got exposed that way when they had the U.S. Open. Like, they didn't know this every single year, how it kind of got picked on, saying how the golf holes were dead straight. There was no curvature to the holes at all. You got to hit it long, and you got to hit it in the fairway, or you can't get to these greens. And the greens are average size, but a lot of them are protected on the front left and front right by bunkers. And there's generally only a small sliver to run the ball up it. So if the rough is long, you got to be in the fairway to win this. And generally, with the exception of maybe a couple of guys who have won here, you've got to be able to hit it pretty far and keep it in play, because if you're going to try to get up and down all week long, you're not going to win this golf tournament.
With the exception of Patrick Reed, because that's kind of what he did last year. I remember when I dove into the stats last year, I was surprised how important around the green game was, because, like you said, if everyone's missing the fairway and playing from the rough, you're going to probably be missing a lot of greens, and you want the guy that's really good at getting up and down. And Reed's that guy. I mean, otherwise he's not really a great course fit here. He's not long. He's not very accurate off the tee. He's not like a Colin Morikawa, who isn't that long but can really just hit 65% of the fairways. So this is such a tough one to peg. You want someone that putts pretty well on POA, of course. The one round at the North Course on bent, but essentially you want a guy that's a decent POA putter. You want some length. I think around the green game is important, and playing long par fours well, 450 to 500 yards. I mean, yeah. It's such an odd stat to look at, but I think it's important for guys that, drive it 310 in the fairway or the first cut, and on a 480-yard hole where they can hit a 7-iron, 8-iron on the green, versus a guy that's hitting it short and crooked on those holes. They're kind of out to lunch.
Yep. I would definitely got to look at those. That's like statistically, obviously that's the best. And we had talked about last year when we picked Reed as a good pick for this, was because of his short game. It wasn't because of the other statistics there. But another thing is this. They play this course every single year, and it seems to fit golfers' eyes really really well or really poorly. And I think looking at the guys who've had success here as well, and even if they don't necessarily fit the perfect mold, it does bring out certain golfers their best. So we have to look at that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's long par fours. It's you're going to have to get up and down, and the greens are always really bumpy with being Poana. So you want guys who can putt that. Your good Bermuda green putters that we talk about. They generally really struggle at this golf course.
The next 4 weeks on the schedule are low key one of my favorite stretches of the schedule, though, with Torrey, and then we got Pebble next week. Super Bowl weekend, we have Phoenix, which has become a pretty awesome event. And then I believe after that is Riv, if I'm not
Riv,
mistaken.
yeah.
So this next 4 weeks are, I think, pretty legitimate. You got some good golf courses, and the fields from at least this week. Phoenix has gotten better, and of course Riviera will be top notch. So I think it's going to be a good run here. Let's see what the odds tell us, and of course, we know John Rahm has had an affinity for this golf course. First tour win here in 2017. He wins the U.S. Open here last year during the summer. But he's also had some other good finishes here as well. He's finished the last 5 years. He's finished first, 29th, 5th, 2nd, 7th, and then also the U.S. Open win last summer. So this is a true horse for the course. He's the number one player in the world. And you could argue he's probably appropriately priced at where he's at this week, even though it's a very short number. It's still probably, it might be a little low, but at plus 650, you have to make the decision on your betting card if you have a certain allotment of units or whatever you go with is. Are you going to use a single bullet on John Rahm and maybe sprinkle in some long shots, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The number is probably pretty close, but yeah, at 13-2, plus 650 there, that's such a low number that it's real hard to bite on because, let's say you put, a full unit on them there. I mean, you're not going to get that much of a return, but then again, you look at everybody else in the field and he's got the, he's easily got the best chance at winning and winning a former Farmers Insurance Open a few years ago, winning the U.S. Open last year. He's definitely the favorite, but I don't know. I mean, I want to bet him, but I don't know if it's worth, so little, quote unquote, so little return with that possibility that if he doesn't win, I mean, you don't get any value really as a top 5 finish either. So,
Right.
For me, I'd probably stay away from him, but, I wouldn't fault anybody. I wouldn't fault you or like you said, anybody for betting him just if you feel that good about him for winning this week.
You and I traditionally don't bet the favorites often, especially if they're under plus 1,000. If it's a major and it's really tight between a few guys, then we might be talking a little differently. But yeah, plus 650, it is really hard to, if you have a weekly budget that you try to stick to for this. And I mean, to get any decent size return, you'd almost have to use 100%, 90% of your budget. That's a tough thing to do. It's a well-earned number though, and he really does fit the golf course in every way. The argument for him winning as well is that he's the odds are, with him just winning once last year, that there's going to be some wins that just start stacking up. He played great in Hawaii. He did not play great this last week at all. Not a fan of the setup, but he only finished 14th in it's a really, really weak field. I mean, it's just that was not a good week for John Rahm. 14th for most guys is a good week, but it was not a good week. So I could see both sides of the argument. I'll probably stay away and then see if something happens live where I can pick him up later on in the tournament. I mean, that's where I know you and I both usually go with these kind of things. Following him, it's really stacked, and we start getting into some guys that are it's my rule of under plus 2,000 superstars. We'll talk about those, but JT at plus 1,200, Xander, San Diego guy, runner up last year plus 1,400. Hideki coming off the win Hawaii at plus 1,800, maybe still undervalued. Berger, Scheffler, and Sam Burns all at plus 2,000. Maybe a couple surprises in there. I'm still trying to figure out the Scotty Scheffler thing a little bit right now. I don't really understand how he can be 20-1 and he still hasn't won, and he hasn't really started the season that great yet. But who's the guy in this range? I'm sure you have someone targeted. Do you just go back to Hideki?
I want to go to Hideki because I like that number, but winning 2 consecutive weeks in a row is is hard. And I've talked about it all the time. I probably mentioned it every single podcast I've ever done. Is it's so hard to bet guys on their back-to-back weeks there. But he putted so well that he's very intriguing because his ball striking was good, but it wasn't to where it normally is. I mean, he's generally regarded as one of the best ball strikers in the world at any given time, in his young career here. So I don't mind him. I don't even mind him in a top 10 finish either. Getting plus 225 on a top 10 isn't too bad. I think he's going to hang around. But if he doesn't get that putter going like he did there at Sony, especially in that final round, then yeah, he's not going to end up winning. But I mean, at plus 1,800, that's a pretty good number there. I'm staying away. I know we talked about Xander. I'm staying away from Xander. The fact that he finished second last year is remarkable. Played his high school matches out there, a lot of them, and has always struggled there. He's never been good there at Torrey Pines, and finally kind of broke through and finished runner up there. But that's still too short of a number for him, for a guy that doesn't really win and hasn't had a great course history here. I don't love Justin Thomas's number, but that's probably the guy I'm going to pick there. You've got to hit it well. I mean, he fits the mold for hitting it long. He's a good driver of the golf ball. I think he's going to hit, he can hit a lot of greens. The short game is not bad. And I'm hoping that there'll be less pressure on making putts. And I think having Bones Mackay on the bag, who is a West Coast guy, he's an Arizona guy, but being on the bag with Phil Mickelson, and Mackay's an excellent green reader. And I think that's going to help him. And Thomas being a bent grass and now Bermuda guy, I think I'm hoping that this translates, this partnership, as they get more comfortable with each other, translate into some success. 1,200, that's a little tight, but that plus 275 top five, which I normally don't like to bet top five finishes. I can't see him not contending this week.
I'm a little surprised. Usually you've been keeping away from JT with the issues with the putter. He doesn't have a course history here. In fact, I don't know if he's played this event. From what I see, he hasn't played in the last 5 years. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If he's playing the type of golf that JT can play, finished 5th at Tournament Champions, 5th at the Hero in December. I forget what he finished at the father-son with Mike, but no, he's been playing good golf. He's been playing good golf, so that's an understandable play. I'm going to surprise you. I may shock you. I don't hate Xander this week. I do not hate
what?
Xander. I do not hate Xander. No, I do not hate Xander this week.
Every week.
I know. I'm probably not going to bet him to win, but I don't hate it. Based on some of the metrics we were talking about earlier, as far as play length to your par fours, driving distance, accuracy, approach, all those things, I don't hate it. And obviously he's grown up around these type of greens with Poa, so that's all I'm saying. The guy
maybe last year was the where he kind of broke through and now he's got that confidence on the course. Yeah,
because he hadn't really finished well here up until last year. He finished 12th at Tournament of Champions. It was solid, not great. I'll probably be betting Daniel Berger at plus 2,000, which could be a little bit of a surprise, but I like how just damn solid he's been hitting his approach shots for a while. And although I think he's a straight enough driver to keep it in play. I have a little bit of question about getting the ball up and down with him. That's probably my only question. I trust him to make enough putts. Last 50 rounds, he's 4th total in strokes gained behind John Rahm, Sam Burns, and Taylor Moore. Go figure. So Berger, the last 50 rounds, his game completely across the board is solid. He's losing a little bit of strokes putting, 1/10 of stroke putting, but 1.1 strokes gained on approach. So I just like where Berger's headed. I think he wins at least once this year, maybe a 2-win season for DB straight by. But so past plus 2,000 into the all the way up to 3,500. This is where you have studs. And by the way, the last 5 or 6 years, studs usually win this golf tournament. You can say whatever you want about Patrick Reed. He's a big game hunter. Jason Day's won here a couple times. Jason Day's not that anymore, but he was at the time. Justin Rose, Mark Leishman. You don't see a lot of Tom Hoagies winning this tournament. You know what I mean? So I just generally speaking, I'm not going to go much past 50-1 to win this tournament. So DJ Dustin Johnson's at plus 2,200, and he has basically no history here. Last time he played here was 2017, missed the cut. Bryson is at plus 2,200. He also hasn't played here since 2018, missed the cut, but his game's much different than it was. U.S. Open, he was in contention to the last back nine, and admittedly imploded in a big way. I think he shot 43, but when he made the turn last year at Torrey, I thought he was going to win the U.S. Open back to back. I just want to talk about those two guys first before we go down. Or either one of those guys worth taking a chance on?
I think Bryson is, and the fact that he should be the defending U.S. Open champion. I mean,
Wow.
That guy, I mean, he was in it. I mean, yeah, he shot 7-8 over par in the last 9 holes, and I mean, he was up by a couple. Just very uncharacteristic of him once he gets that lead, because he's a guy you can once he takes the reins there and can get out in front. He's a tough guy to take down, or he's not a guy that really beats himself at that point. But and what's interesting, and didn't he blame it on some tough breaks and bad lies and stuff? And
yeah.
While I think he's full of shit, because generally you create your own luck and everything, that type of mentality though is perfect for a guy like him to come back and play well the following year. He's not going to have the wounds that some people will have, whether it's golf or football or any sport really. So 2,200, that's a good number there. I'm gonna bet him. Now the issue with Bryson is he's gonna win, or he'll finish 30th, or he'll miss the cut. I don't think, I've been preaching about taking the guy to win and then with top 5. I don't think I'll do that with Bryson, because if he doesn't win, I don't think he's going to finish in the top 5. If he's in contention, he's going to shoot that 43 and implode and just make a mess of things. So that's why I like him. DJ, I don't like him at all this week. That putter, I don't know how that's going to perform. Course history, because he hasn't really had any, I don't mind that. But the putter, though, has been so cold for him over the last year that I don't think you can bet him until he shows you otherwise. Now, if he gets that putting back, and we always talk about that DJ heater, you just ride it until he proves to you otherwise. But he's been so cold with that putter. He's switched putters a few times. He's gone back to the same spider that he had success with. Just right now, he's not finding it. So I think he's a definite stay away.
He hasn't played in a while either. I don't remember him playing much in the fall at all. I think maybe the Vegas tournament, right, that Rory won, was the last time he might have played for DJ. I'm totally aligned with you on Bryson. I think you almost, this is almost a system play based on, once again, the number is too low. I mean, the fact that he's priced behind a guy like Scotty Scheffler, so no one loves Scotty Scheffler more than me, but that's a disrespectful line to Bryson.
Yeah.
And it's over respecting Scotty at this point. I think this is a good setup for Bryson. You know, we were texting about it earlier. I think Torrey's a good setup for him. Um, it's bomb and gouge ish. It's really long, which plays into his hands. The rough is really thick, which also plays into his hands as well. So if you're talking about a week where Bryson could just make a few putts, I think he's going to be there on Saturday. Which, by the way, didn't even talk about it.
Oh yeah,
I forgot the Wednesday start, the Saturday night finish is the best idea. That
just fantastic.
I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I forgot about it until the promo last night during the Chiefs Bills game. And I was like, oh yeah, this is great. We can actually finish a golf tournament on Saturday night in prime time. That's going to be badass.
Yep, finishing a good golf tournament, good golf course, and then just Sunday is just going to be devoted to football. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think they're doing Friday night as well. So
yeah,
for the for people working, it's the coverage starts I think at 5:00. So it'll probably run until close to 9. So it'd be kind of cool to see a third round Friday round there. But yeah, again with Bryson one more time, I'm not saying he's a lock, anything like that to win this event, but it does fit. He won at Winged Foot at the U.S. Open, which is one of the hardest golf courses in the world. It's tight. It's not as long as this course, but he kind of won with the bomb and gouge. And, he plays well at these courses if he's kind of mentally and emotionally into it. So, I like him this week, and I'm going to go with it.
2,500 to 3,500. Finau, Leishman, Zalatoris. I've been seeing earlier in the day he was around plus 4,000. So there's been a bunch of money coming in on Will Zalatoris. Sanjay M at plus 3,000, and Brooks at 3,500. We talked about Zalatoris. We both liked him last week. He had the hot second rounds. Apparently there's enough people betting him to drive his number down quite a bit. Do you see it this week in the cards for him or not?
I think with Will Zalatoris going forward is you're going to have to live with potentially a poor putting week where he's just not going to make anything. But his tee to green game is so on par with any of these guys. So I don't mind it at all. And I don't mind betting him to win. It's kind of like with Tony Finau, when he first kind of got, his name was out there years ago. You probably would, we were betting at the time, but it's a guy that you probably bet on just because the potential there to win. And then he kind of, showed that, with that putter was not dependable enough. But, I think Will Zalatoris, I don't even mind him at 30 to 1. I'll probably strongly consider it. I wish I could get him more of 35 to 40 to 1 where it opened. I really wish I would have seen that because I didn't realize that he was already down to that much. But yeah, he could win at this golf course. This is one that he could win at. And with the Poeta greens, and the course being so hard that as long as his short game's decent, he's definitely a consideration there. But with that said, this is a great group, though. Otherwise, just not even including him. I mean, Finau, is he going to win again? Maybe not. But this golf course would work well for him.
And it has worked well.
Yeah, he's had some success here, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had some top tens the last 5 years. I just had that in front of me, but I switched the page. But I was going to mention Finau. I think course history, everything that is essentially the same for Bryson kind of applies here for Finau a little bit. I don't think he's as good out of the rough as Bryson is, but I think obviously he feels comfortable here. Course history is really solid. Betting Finau always comes with some caveats, but I really think now that he got the monkey off his back last year, I think he'll pick up another W at some point this year. This is where I just hand out a bunch of wins arbitrarily, and I'm already up to like 40 wins given out for the year. Anyone else in that range? Leishman, Sanjay, Brooks.
Yeah, I like Leash. He's got great course history here. Good ball striker. I think he puts his greens pretty well. Didn't he win here? I know he's had a couple runner-up.
Yeah,
He
he
won
did.
here like just a couple of years ago, I think.
I think
2020.
it was actually 2020. Yeah.
So 2 years ago he won, and he's had two runner-up finishes as well. So, um, 25-1's not bad. And if you think he's going to finish top 10, plus 250 is not bad at all. But I think he'll contend. He's playing good golf, and good course history here. The only guy I would stay away from in this group is Brooks Koepka. I know that number is real tempting, but he never plays any events on the West Coast. Hates these greens. Hates them. Never putts well out here. I would wait to see how he played well, and maybe even a live bet if you do like how he's playing. But I just don't think he's going to win on Polana greens.
He's played here twice the last 5 years, missed the cut, both instances. Leishman won in 2020. That was the Kobe crash day. I remember.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Going down the board, Spieth is checking in at 40-1 plus 4,000. Maverick McNeely, West Coast guy, plus 4,500. Connors, Patrick Reed, Taylor Gooch, Matt Wolff at 50-1. Man, Reed's he's just sitting out there at an unbelievable number.
I'm going to throw something on him at 50-1. He's just one. He's one of these guys. He's gonna scrape it out, and if he catches a good week, that's a good number. Because last year I think he was 38 or 40-1.
I got him at 25. I remember
25. Okay,
it's double. That's double this year from last year.
And he's got like you said, the game's really not there at this point. But I mean, being the defending champion, I could see him making a run at it, and you don't have to put much on him to win a lot. Spieth at 40-1 is interesting, but I think that's really reflecting how he's been playing, which has not been good at all. And I think we're gonna have he's gonna have I think a successful season, but I don't know if I could touch him at that.
Just a bad setup for him, it feels like, doesn't it?
It was being such a poor driver with the golf ball, and it just doesn't work.
Back to Reed real quick. Talking about someone that's got course history the last 4 years here: 23rd, 13th, 6th, 1st on Pat Reed.
Yeah, I think you could bet him to win with top 10 or top 20 even as insurance.
I do gravitate back toward Mav McNeely. 15th here 2 years ago, missed the cut last year, but he picks up strokes just everywhere. He's positive in his last 50 rounds off the tee, approach, around the greens, and putting. He's just solid everywhere. He's from the West Coast, knows Poa greens pretty well. What my favorite Matt McNeely bet is? Top 20. That's at plus 160.
Well, and he's a better golfer than he was a year ago when he missed the cut. He's just a better tour player. So I like it.
55 and above. Justin Rose at 5,500. I saw that he had his best ball striking round in 2 years on Sunday. Might be something to think about, even though I do not like Justin Rose at all as a human being. Ryan Palmer at plus 6,000. Really good course history there. Siwoo, Cam Tringali, Aaron Wise, and Matt Hughes at 6,500. And then Homa, Bezaden Hoot, and my boy Luke List at 70-1. First of all, Justin Rose. I mean, this is a famous Johnny thing here. Is who played well, who hit the ball the last time we saw him, and can they find something, and then they take that momentum into the next week. Is that are you on the Justin Rose radar this week at all?
Not to win, but yeah, I do like him this week. He did win here before. That's when I think he gained number one in the world to earn that spot. I think as long as he used to be really, really good driver of the golf ball, a real good iron player. Got crooked with his driver though the last couple of years, and hence has fallen off. But I think he's got a lot of confidence and the course history. I don't mind him at all to 1 with this field is a little, I don't know, a little gutsy. I don't see him winning, but top 20 bet, top 30 bet, something like that. I think he'll make the cut and do something. And Ryan Palmer, I mean,
I was going to mention, yeah. You
yeah,
talk
I
about
was just saying,
course history. He's got for the last 4 years, 2nd, 13th, 21st, 2nd. Finished 12th at Sony. Yeah, it's Ryan Palmer. So he's probably not going to win the tournament, but top 10 plus 500. What about any of the guys there in that range? Wise, we know what he offers. This is like my land of my favorites that never do anything. Wise and List, and then there's Max at that number at plus 7,000.
I'm going to keep betting Max, especially in California, but I'm going to keep betting Max if he's at 5,000 or higher. He's getting better and better and better. And I think, I like him. I think he's a good player. And at 70 to 1, I think that's real good value there, is to throw a little bit on him there. But most of these West Coast events, if they're gonna put him that low, that he's got the capabilities to win. Obviously, that he's got the, was he at 3 now? So
yeah.
I don't know. Aaron Wise, I've been told, I've kind of read that he's got some value this week. He's got the talent. I mean, would you bet him to win, or would you bet him top 20? I mean, do you feel that he's gonna make the cut and make some noise?
I think he can make the cut for sure. I probably wouldn't go over top 20 with Wise. He's been off for a while. He hasn't played since Houston. He finished 26 at Houston. 220 for plus 220 for top 20. I would rather go there. I would like to see it first with him. Instead, I'd rather spend my money on Luke List. I mean, I normally say this tongue in cheek, but this is an amazing setup for him. And he's played well here. He's made the cut the last 4 years, finished 10th last year. His last 3 starts, Houston 10th, RSM 10th, last week 22nd. Tee to green, guess who's better than him? Tee to green in the last 50 rounds.
Tee to green?
Yep.
I gotta think Rahm, and
that's it. It starts and ends with John Rahm. That's the only guy that's been better tee to green in the last 50 rounds. That's it. He's gaining strokes around the green. He is losing 0.6 per round on the greens. So that's it. If Luke List can, is there any way Poa Green sort of just negate awful shitty putters, or is that more of the past Palin that we've talked about in the past?
Well, it's kind of both. I mean, Bent and Bermuda, you got to be good putters to excel. I think they kind of expose bad putters, but past Palin and Poana, if you have the right type of stroke and you just happen to catch lines, because you kind of got to pop the ball, you got to hit it a little bit harder to get a good rotation on it so it rolls consistently. If he wins, it's going to be on these Poana West Coast, greens. So,
right.
But still, he can be so bad. But it's just amazing how well he is getting to the green, and then just loses strokes. I mean, it's just incredible
it's incredible.
He keep his card like that and be that bad on the greens.
He's just been playing really well the last. I really said the whole fall he played well. He really had a chance to win at Houston. He was in the next week at RSM. He was in contention the final day. I know he's probably not going to win. I just feel like if he's going to win, it's going to be at this type of golf course. It's going to be at a course that really favors his length and his ball striking and sort of neutralizes putting. Now he's got to beat a world-class field to do it. That's the only problem. But again, we're talking about this 70 to 1 number where if I put $5 down, I can win $350. I've spent $5 in much worse ways. So I'll be betting Luke List, and I'll probably put him in my best bets.
Okay.
Right.
I actually don't. I really don't mind him. Part of it's just giving you shit about it because you talk about him more than
I,
you talk about your own children. But
true.
that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, 70-1. I mean, I think it's pretty fairly priced, but it's like Homa. I mean, it's got value to it.
It
Bet
does.
way down the board, and he could miss the cut, but he could also get 10.
Let's move on past Luke List.
Okay.
Frankie Molinari, he, like you mentioned earlier, he's coming back from the dead a little bit. He's at 80-1. Your boy Joaquin Neiman at 80-1. Billy Ho, Lanto Griffin, Keegan, Cam Davis, he's at 9. And then Mitchell, Norin, Mito Pereira, J Day, Hoagie, they're all at 100-1. I don't see a winner in here for sure. But a guy like Mito Pereira, great ball striker at plus 800 for a top 10. Gotta be some interest there for you.
Yeah, it's just whether he's, I don't know the last couple of months. Obviously, I don't know how he's really played. Like he started out with, a lot of top 30 finishes on tour when he first came out in the late summer, early fall, and then really was struggling. But yeah, great ball striker. I don't know about a top 10 bet, but I don't mind him to make the cut and finish top 20 or 30. He's definitely going to be somebody that's going to be on my card in some capacity there. Frank Molinari, I think he's going to ride that. He's proven he's been a good enough player over the years. Obviously, major champion, and had some success. That the way he he actually played pretty well every single round, all 4 rounds, I believe. But I think he's going to have some value there to finish in top 10, top 20, something like that. The rest of them, I would agree. I don't like any of them as win bets either. And really, it kind of the whole group there is kind of underwhelming for me. I'd probably stay away from everybody else on that.
Mito, the last 50 rounds in this field, he's been really exceptional tee to green. He's 5th tee to green, only behind Brahm, Lisberger, and Sanjay. I mean, that's the elite of the elite right there as ball strikers go. Hoagie coming back from the runner-up last week. I can't believe I'm saying this. There's not that many guys that hit their irons as good as Tom Hoagie's been hitting them the last few months. I know.
I did not expect this to be said tonight. Those words.
I know. I feel embarrassed a little bit, but he's got 2 top 12s here at Torrey the last 4 years. He finished second last week. He finished 4th at RSM in the fall. So 2 of his last 3 finishes have been top 5s. Tom Hoagie, iron extraordinaire, top 10 plus 800. Just saying. A guy that's had a great course history here, Brant Snedeker, he's at a plus 11,000. Johnny Vegas, he's played well around here a time or two, not for a while, but also at that same number. Gary Woodland, that was my chic top 40 bet last week. But man, that really played out well. He's also at plus 11,000. Hoffman, Ricky Fowler, Kevin Streelman, Grayson Sigg, Joel Damon, Cam Champ, Matt Jones. This list kind of goes down here. There's a lot of guys at 150-1 here. I think you can't really do much more betting these guys for a top 10 and probably more in the top 20 to 40 range this week. It feels like this isn't a long shot course as we talked about.
Yeah. This is the opposite of the American Express event where you're not going to get these surprises there. But how Matt
fucking
Jones
putting contest.
How Matt Jones has fallen though. He was like, people were thinking he was going to do something there at Sony, and then he just kind of Matt Jones it. If you're looking at a top 40, I would probably look at Snedeker and Vegas, probably Vegas over Snedeker. And
Snedeker's been playing kind of decent.
Yeah, and I didn't know he was doing anything until I think was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. He
But
finished top 40 at Sony, top 15 last week.
so I mean, yeah, there's some value there, but I wouldn't go much. I would maybe go top 20, but even then, it's a big number there. But you'd think a guy like Woodland would fit here well, but he's just so inconsistent. Really want Ricky Fowler here, and anybody who's like thinking about Ricky Fowler, this is like one of his major sponsors. So I don't know how much, like, if you think he's going to break out here soon, I wouldn't pick this event for him to do it because he's going to be busy with sponsor commitments and everything like that. I hope he does play well because I do like him potentially going forward here as some good value, but this week I don't. And really everybody else in the group that I hadn't mentioned, I'm not even going to touch.
Well, that Michael Thompson love last week, that didn't go great.
That didn't go great. No, he really played well at Sony and then really didn't play well. Why do we got to talk about last week? I don't even want to.
I was big on Michael Thompson too. I bet him. I didn't put my best bets, but yeah. Anyone under that we go down to 180 to 1 all the way down to 500, actually even farther than that. But Joseph Ramlet, he bucked his head a little bit last week. Really, really long off the tee. Might be a little bit too inexperienced at a course like this and in a field like this to really succeed, but positive off the tee, really good on approach, really struggles with the putter. But that's a 200 to 1 shot. What else you got?
Okay, and I'm not picking him. I'm just going to ask you. Hudson Swafford won. Do you see him carrying over and finishing top 20, 30, whatever? Or is this golf course just not fitness profile? I mean, he's an East Coast guy, so he's a Bermuda green, grass green guy. So that might not be even a good option there. But I just thought that was interesting, though, that he wins and he's 150 to 1 to win after he was 175 to 1. He didn't move up really that much, but you could tell that the books really think it was a fluke there. So and he's not gonna win back-to-back weeks and everything like that. But I just didn't. Just got surprised at that number there. But
the books think Keegan Bradley has twice as good a chance to win still than Hudson Swafford. No, I think I'm going to call Hudson's going to miss a cut this week.
Miss cut for Hudson.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. There's one guy I always look at, and I never mention him, and you mentioned him, is Doug Gim. This is not really a good course for him, but I think he went to Cal. Is he going to be a guy who can putt consistent enough to win?
No.
Or is he going to be the Bo Hostler type where he's just?
Oh no, not the Bo Hostler.
I'm going with Bo Hostler.
Yeah, Doug Gim. I like him. I don't know if he's got the length to stick around at this golf course. He feels like a guy that would like win the Travelers to me at some point. I don't know why. I have that one pegged for Doug Gim.
So he's winning that one this year. Okay, I'll note that.
Not the 22 Travelers, but a Travelers.
Okay.
Kyle Stanley, real checkered past here, right?
Yeah, you remember that? You were
God.
A huge fan of him that year.
Yeah, that was a devastating loss. Like that was devastating. But even recently, he's shown up here to 2 top 20s in the last couple of years for Kyle Stanley. He just seems to have a certain feel around this course. Should have won here. I think that was like 2012, where he had a 3-shot lead going into the last hole, the 72nd hole, and makes triple. And then lost in the playoff to Snedeker, right?
Yes.
And then, but he came back the next week and won.
He won in Phoenix.
Yeah. My guy Hayden Buckley's down here at 200. Didn't really show up last week. Davis Riley, 250 to 1. He made an appearance last week for a while. He got into John Rahm on Sunday, and then he made triple bogey on the first hole. And I had a top 10 bid on him, a pretty sizable one. And that ruined that immediately. Isn't it the worst though when you have like a top 10 or top 20 bet on the guy and he's right in that range and then he
Yes.
just makes like a double to start and it's done.
Yeah, because at that point, he's not going to win, but you're like, you know what? At least I can recoup some of my win bets that I'm not
Right.
going to win. I can at least make something. And
Exactly.
then they start like that, and then they're fighting their way up. And a lot of times, what these guys do is then they just they freewheel it, make some birdies, and you're like, okay, that looks good. And then it's just, then you start looking at them, and then they plateau, and then miss their, finish 12th or something like that. But
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of guys down here that we saw in the lead world last week. Cameron Young, 300 to 1. He was right there. Is this going to be the yearly Tyler Mccumber appearance where he's like fourth going into the final round?
It could be. It could be. I'm not going to bet him to do that. But yeah, I mean, the names down here.
He's terrible.
He is terrible. But yeah, it'll be like Bay Hill or something like that. That he'll show up. It'll be in like the third to last group or something like that. I do like how Saith Thigala, he didn't play well Sunday, but played a good first 3 rounds there, and I think he's learning the pro game there. I don't know if, again, this is one of these guys that, you try to pick on potential, but this golf course can be so hard that, a guy who's not as experienced, you're really throwing darts at, because last year, what was it? Did the winner, I think it was 9 under, 10 under something. I mean, traditionally it's between like 8 and 12, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a birdie fest. These guys gotta, they gotta play some golf, and a lot of times the less experienced PGA Tour guys, that's harder for them to do after 4 rounds. So these guys, I'm gonna stay away from just about every single one of them. I mean, it's just because you're
one of these guys down here that's like 150 to 251. I bet you one of them was going to finish the top 10 though, and someone's going to finish in the top 10 that's down here, and it's like a plus 1,400, plus 2,000 bet for a top 10. That's where this golf betting is so awesome that you could bet John Rahm to win at plus 650, but your return's going to be 2.5, 3 times bigger if you could pick one of these guys to finish top 10. It's now that's the hard part, insanely hard part, as we've talked about for the last a year and a half of doing this, is these guys betting them for top 10 is as difficult as betting the top guys to win. It's insanely hard to win outrights, but it's insanely hard to win these long shots, top 10s, top 20s. But it's fun to do. You can have some low stakes on a couple of guys, and maybe one works out. That's all I got for farmers. Anything else for you?
No, I don't have anything else for farmers. I'm looking forward to the event because, I mean, the first 3 events, the first one's cool because it's Kapalua, and then you got the next Hawaii event, then you got that other event which generally doesn't have a good field, but this is the one where this is when a lot of the big boys get together, and where they have a real good field, and this one's going to be a good field, good golf course, and it should be fun. Don't go too crazy on these long shots like we've been saying, and I'll be looking a lot at these matchups though, because it'll either kind of be chalky as far as who I picked to win. It'll be guys that are up there, but had some success already with the matchups, and that's kind of where I'm going to focus here this week is that, because I think when you got a winner that's like, let's say 10 under par, these guys are so good that between first and 20th place could be 3 shots. So it's hard to say who misses a putt here and there, and that could really swing and make the difference on whether you're third place or you're 27th.
You've been making hay with the matchups. That's for sure. Zach's done pretty decent with them. I didn't put any of my best bets last week, but it might be a good week to really really look for the guys that you think are going to play well and at least make the cut. And sometimes you make the cut, that's enough to win a lot of these matchups, and it's pretty easy money.
Yep.
So maybe,
Exactly.
maybe spot a weak matchup you like. All right, Johnny. Went a lot longer than I thought. I say that every time, but a lot longer on the Farmers than I thought. But we had to get down to the nitty gritty there with the 250, 300 to 1 guys, as we usually do. That's my favorite. That's my favorite part of the podcast, to be honest with you. So we'll be back next week with Pebble Beach.
Can't wait.
Since it's a Wednesday start this week, of course, podcast will be released Tuesday. We'll probably have our best bets up by Tuesday evening. So take a look there on Facebook, Instagram. Check out the YouTube channel, Your Best Bets. I've been posting those for the last couple of weeks. If you are so interested to do that, coming later in the week, of course, conference championship preview with Zach, and my resident Rams fan, Nate, will be with us. And then next week is hugely anticipated episode. It's Days of Thunder, rewatchable with myself, Tim, and Amanda. That's going to be the best episode that we've done in a while. So can't wait for that one. Thanks for listening once again, and we'll check it next time.